Good day for skiers and strength training enthusiasts. In this video we're going to learn about principles from strength and conditioning and how they can aid us as recreational skiers or athletes of any sport, how we can better train for performance. Come in here. You need to train so you can reduce the risk of injury, ski better, and also reduce the mind-body connection and its delay so you can react instantly to what's happening in our sport. So that's why we're here today with Ian, and he's going to help explain some of the most important concepts from strength and conditioning and how it can aid us as skiers and athletes.
Some of the following may already be clear to you, but how clear is it? Let's go quickly and efficiently through some of the basics to see if you can learn something new. We should start by discussing the principles of force. Force is either a push or a pull, and if we want to get it right, we need to be efficiently transferring force through our bodies into the ground.
Was the apple falling on Newton's head?
If we train our muscles and tendons with the right application of force over time, we should be able to get them to improve their ability to react through turns into jumps, rails, etc. Not only that, we reduce injury risk and minimize energy expenditure, which is bueno.
Force. I love Star Wars too.
It's hard not to talk about Star Wars.
But something I love even more is putting that force into the jump to set off a sweet trick. Enjoy the air before gravity smash me into the ground and I resist that force, just like Luke.
I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you.
If you want more help on how to effectively train to support your skiing, check out the programs Ian made in the link in the description for much more detailed training plans.
Now let's go through some of the fundamentals that allow us to do this. Fundamental number 1.
General adaptation syndrome and progressive overload.
The gas principle explains how the human body responds to increasing stress through various phases and how it adapts over time by building strength and resilience to those stresses. Progressive overload is the system that we use to gradually manage the gas principle by periodically increasing work or sets, reps, time, or load, while maintaining excellent technique, ensuring that our body is adapting positively.
A progressive overload issue I've had was that I haven't been pushing enough for week-on-week progress, either when it comes to weight on the bar, number of reps, or sets. Make sure that you track your progress.
So these principles combined are getting your body battle ready to handle greater forces quickly and effectively while reducing the risk of injury. Clear so far, right? So this is important. We can't just random it, or we may not get the correct dose for the specific needs of our sport. Therefore we need fundamental number 2.
Specificity and periodization.
Specificity in a nutshell means that we're training focused on a specific skill or muscle needed for a particular activity, like skiing. Then periodization means training cycles, blocks or phases designed to target specific goals like strength, power or endurance, while focusing on a sport-specific movement or goal.
A periodization problem I've been having is that I only trained seriously in the past during the autumn. And that led to a variety of problems. I have to always start over at the same point every autumn. Nowadays, when I try my best to train over the whole year, it's way more motivating, as I can see. Slow and steady progress.
Now there's a lot of ways to do this and some interesting ideas out there about dividing your training up. But one way is using block or phase potentiation, such as accumulation, intensification, and peaking, which means that we ramp up, slowly directing the amount of difficulty of the sessions towards the goal. This is where it's important to tailor exercises to effectively produce force for the goal and not waste energy. That's the sport-specific part. This is where many get mixed up with what is useful by overcomplicating things and adding unnecessary protocols that eat into your volume and intensity bucket, which is finite. This brings us to fundamental number 3.
Volume and intensity.
So in order for progressive overload and periodization to work effectively, we absolutely must manage volume and intensity, which is balancing how much work you do, volume, with how hard it is, intensity, by adjusting sets, reps, time, and weights based on which training phase you're in. Building volume in an accumulation phase or at the start, and increasing intensity as you peak closer to the goal. And this is important because volume and intensity determine how much you're progressing without burning out or risking injury.
If you don't figure out how to balance things, you're gonna burn out or get hurt.
So one important caveat is to look at the dose of volume, and that will massively vary from one person to another. And we have a bucket that should not be too full or too empty to make sure that we're actually progressing.
Intensity issues I've had is that I've been going a bit too hard on the upper body with too few reps in reserve, often going to failure, increasing my need for recovery more than necessary, and having the opposite issue on my legs, where I've been a little hesitant and not pushing quite hard enough. But now I learned that by doing some single leg exercises with dumbbells, for example, I dare to push closer to failure, because I can simply drop the dumbbells.
And for progressive overload and periodization to work effectively, we need to manage recovery and adaptation, or fundamental number 4,
Dose response.
So the body doesn't just get stronger during training, but during recovery, where it repairs itself and adapts to the new stimulus, or dose. So it should be clear that prioritizing sleep, nutrition, hydration, and maybe some light cardio is helping to maximize recovery. But you should also be prioritizing the important stuff, which is training for the thing you need to do. And in our case, that's skiing, because everything you do externally eats into the bucket of volume that you have. A lack of proper recovery can lead to overtraining, injury, or falling flat on your face.
I used to overdo the dose, and the response would be a bit wobbly legs when I go skiing, which would reduce my ability to do some sweet tricks there. Now working with Ian, I've learned that in the winter, I can get by with doing far fewer sets and maybe only one session a week to maintain my strength.
And to understand the right volume and intensity from the get-go, we should have a starting point or a baseline, which is fundamental number 5.
Baseline testing.
So here we're looking at your current strength and endurance levels and then tailoring the volume and intensity over the coming block of training. For this, we need to use key exercises that are specific to your needs and relevant to the sport. So we test how much volume you can handle and how close you are to your technical limit, which is effectively your relative intensity. So this doesn't mean all-out death. What it means is where your movement patterns break down. So baseline testing helps identify weak links in the chain and gives you a starting point for your program. It basically helps you know where you are within your current skill and capacity levels. We can then regulate training load in the coming weeks, and then beyond this, we need to continue to regulate sessions to improve on our relative intensity.
Autoregulation.
For autoregulation, we use tools like RPE, rate of perceived exertion, or RIR, reps in reserve, to manage training intensity. You've likely heard of them, and these scales can help you determine relative intensity, which is the golden cup that everyone is searching for.
You have chosen wisely.
Or the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, to adequately adjust training volume and intensity based on how your body feels on a given day.
An auto-regulation issue I had was that I often just regulated it down to nothing. No training. Nowadays, I try to at least show up for consistency reasons and just do a minimal amount of work during that training. Better than nothing, right?
All right, Jens, I want you to do 8 reps, barbell back squat, with 2 to 3 reps in reserve, or an RPE of 7 to 8. How much weight do you think that is?
4 to 3 reps in reserve. I don't know, 80? 90? I've been doing a lot of split squats lately. 80.
80?
Yeah, I'll try that.
for it. What's on there?
60.
Okay.
How good my memory is, I should have checked my training app.
Six. Okay, stop. How many reps in reserve?
Well, I thought maybe 3.
How many?
3.
Okay, do 3 reps.
Or
9. Okay, how many reps in reserve?
I think 3.
Okay, let's do 3 reps. 12. You think that's right?
No,
You can do more?
2.
2 reps. Okay, let's go.
I have more.
More? Let's keep going then. 18. How many more?
I hate to say it, but another 3 maybe.
Another 3, okay. 21. You're done, right?
I think I
You're
could do
done, you're
another
done. Okay.
2 or 3 maybe.
I think your technique was getting a little bit sketchy towards the end, but was that 8 reps with 2 to 3 reps in reserve or an RPE of 7 to 8? Or do you think you could have put some more weight on the bar?
Some more weight on the bar.
Yeah. Good
I
job
like
anyway.
split squats. Easy to adjust that, I think.
So the object here was to gauge proximity to failure. Although Jens' technique was not optimal on all of those, he was far away from the load he should have had for 8 reps at an RPE of 7 to 8 or 2 to 3 reps in reserve. The key thing is to load the bar with correct technique and range of motion and then add load after the fact. Research shows that as long as you can maintain and you are pushing within an RPE 7 to 8 or 2 to 3 reps in reserve, and don't slide back too much from one week to the next, our progressive overload model still works. If we're sliding back too much, then we're clearly overshooting or need to take a deload or a rest period. And it's absolutely going to fluctuate because that's life. So now we're really getting into the meat and potatoes. It mainly comes down to experience and the perception of effort. As beginners, we're new to everything, so we make rapid progress. Over time, our sense of where we are becomes more refined. But progress slows and we need to dial things in more precisely. Effort is subjective and takes time to fully understand. Pain tolerance varies. Knowing the difference between productive discomfort and harmful pain is critical. So when we're testing, we want to be in really good shape, and we're pushing to see how much we can handle before there's energy leakage. So for example, we test a 6-rep max with the most weight you can lift for 6 reps with good form in an exercise like the squat. And it's close enough to measure strength, but far enough away from failure to minimize injury risk. During test week, we push hard, even on the single joint exercises like leg extensions. The goal is to either add reps and sets in the accumulation or increase weight in the intensification phases. In an accumulation phase, we want to aim for 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 12 reps with an RPE target of 7 in week 1, 8 in week 2, and 9 in week 3. In week 4, we could add an extra set and assess how we feel going into week 5. After that, we cut the volume in half and restart, potentially with more weight. This brings us full circle in the adaptive model. But we must remember the goal, becoming more efficient at transferring force to support our sport or our goal. While adjustments will be needed, eventually the longer you stick with the exercises that align with your sport, the more efficient you'll become. Constantly changing things to look cool is just noise. It may feel good as a new stimulus, but you're essentially starting over, making your body relearn the pattern. This reduces efficiency in force transfer, holding back your potential as your body adapts to a new movement.
How to find your daily readiness to train.
Every day I would wake up in the morning, feel like my daily readiness to train is low. I feel fatigued, a bit shit. But I've learned to not jump to any conclusions before I've done a set or 2. Then I'll know more.
So a major component is warm-up or activation, but this should not be a bunch of stretching, but an accumulative load with the given exercise you're about to perform. It's been long established that we're not opening anything. We're building proprioception, or connecting your brain to your body and its environment. Stretching can be done separately or far away from the workout, but too close and it can hinder your ability to produce force effectively. This brings us to tendon stiffness or optimal tendon compliance. This is the ability for the tendon to be flexible enough to move, but also stiff enough to transfer electrical signals and ultimately force as quickly as possible. This means that overstretching can reduce stiffness and create the possibility that the tissues are overly compliant, weakening the force transmission and ultimately your performance, or your ability to put force into the ground. So should we not stretch? Well, that's up to you. I would say if it improves your feeling of well-being outside of a session, then that's great. But avoid excessive flexibility that could hinder force output close to a training session. Ultimately, readiness to train involves a state of alertness in enhancing proprioception, which is awareness of your body position, coordination, which is synchronizing movements, and the mind-muscle connection, which is engaging muscles with intent. So that is what you should focus on before a session. So let's finish this off by thinking about lifting heavy weights and doing explosive movements. We should not be thinking about lifting heavy in a way that creates fear around you hurting your back or knees, but the simple fact that lifting heavier, say more than 85% of a 1 rep max for less reps, say than 6, helps build better neurological connections. This not only improves strength, but also prepares the body to handle higher forces from activities like plyometrics and ballistic exercises. So the bottom line, the more you can handle heavier loads, the better your brain connects with your nervous system to enhance force production later. However, this should be done after completing an accumulation phase, or a block of training at lighter loads for more reps.
There's a stigma about heavy lifting. And the thing I've learned is that I need to both lift heavy and light. Heavy so I can withstand the crushing forces when I stomp a new trick, and light as in plyometrics, so I'm bouncing, can react quickly when I'm out there shredding. It could save a crash.
So now we come full circle to perform on the slopes optimally. You need to transfer force through your body effectively, maximizing power and efficiency in movements, whether that's jumping or turning. Generating force quickly is super important, and we should be focused on training that prioritizes exercises that enhance rate of force development, and for this, we need simplicity over complexity. Focus on fundamental movements for better results instead of overly complex protocols. This means we ultimately want to look at time to takeoff, or how fast we can produce force. And this is a universal language in many sports, as the quicker you can connect to your body, the better your ability to perform will be. Here we get into breaking down the parts of the movement and overloading them. If we can separate those components after we've built our strength base, we can then work on them individually and bring them back together as a whole, and hopefully improve them to be quicker and more forceful.
Thank you, Ian, for coming on the show.
Welcome.
And thank you for watching. Remember to check out Ian's strength training programs down in the description. And you can write a comment in the comment section if you like the video. Maybe you have some suggestions and strength content you'd like to see in the future. And I'm sure we can make it.
Comments in the comment section.
Yeah, wisdom, not in the description. It's this is another awkward outro.
Yeah, bit awkward.
I'm a little stuck now.